Like and subscribe and click the bell icon to get new video updates.
Islamic State Beatles cell member Shafee Elsheikh convicted of beheading hostages by a U.S. court. A U.S. jury has convicted a former British citizen for his role in an Islamic State hostage-taking plot that led to the beheading of American journalists and aid workers. After a 6-week trial and 4 hours of deliberations, a federal jury in Alexandria, Virginia, found Shafee Elsheikh, 33, guilty on charges including lethal hostage-taking and conspiracy to commit murder. In convicting Elsheikh on Thursday, the jury concluded that he was part of an Islamic State terrorist cell, nicknamed the Beatles for their British accents, that beheaded American hostages in Iraq and Syria. Some former hostages, released by the notorious group after protracted negotiations, testified during the trial about the torture they endured. Family members of the deceased victims also testified. The charges against Elsheikh, whose British citizenship was withdrawn in 2018, carry a potential death sentence, but U.S. prosecutors have advised British officials they will not seek the death penalty. Journalists beheaded on videotape. Elsheikh, who was born in Sudan and raised in London, was accused of conspiring to kill 4 American hostages, James Foley, Mr Sotloff, Mr Kassig and Kayla Mueller. Mr Foley and Mr Sotloff, both journalists, and Mr Kassig, an aid worker, were killed in videotaped beheadings. Ms Mueller was raped repeatedly by the group's leader, Bakr al Baghdadi, before her death in Syria, U.S. officials have said. Another of the cell's members, Alexanda Kotey, was held in Iraq by the U.S. military before being flown to the U.S. to face trial. Kotey pleaded guilty last September to the murders of Foley, Sotloff, Mueller and Kassig. Sympathisers fighter, not ringleader. During opening arguments in the U.S. trial, Elsheikh's lawyer, Mr MacMahon, called him a sympathisers fighter, and tried to cast doubt on whether he was one of the Beatles. The captors wore masks and had similar accents, making it difficult for hostages to identify them, he said. It was horrific and senseless. None of that is in dispute, Mr MacMahon said. What is in dispute, and what you must decide, is whether Mr Elsheikh bears any legal responsibility. Reuters ABC